We've added sections on the new Malaekahana residential community and the new Malka Connector Yoga. We've added guidelines and policies on the recognition of higher density development forms such as attached multi-family housing and adopt rural standards for these residential areas. We've proposed that new rental housing and housing for sale should serve the needs of olauloa residents and its workforce.
Everybody here in the blue shirts represents a particular religion, faction, and the housing that's going to be developed and the jobs that are going to be developed are all to benefit a singular organization. Not very many people from outside of the Mormon Church are hired by the Mormon Church to fulfill vacancies or job positions in their organizations. I've listened to all these people talk about their 5 kids, their 16 grandchildren. Just the people in this room, there's not enough houses going to be built that will accommodate their families, let alone anybody else. The reality is, not everybody gets to live or stay here. It's very difficult. It's a very expensive place to live, this island. And as much as we want to keep, people want to keep their families here, the reality is it's not going to happen. The wages are not high enough to support even affordable housing. Affordable housing will not be affordable. There still will have to be many families sharing these units.
And added new guidelines for the Malaekahana community. Now, when we say we really mean we as a department with the input of the community. Although there may be some disagreement because there was not consensus in our planning advisory committee, neither was there consensus from the neighborhood board. But we had to move this on. So that is why it's before you. Otherwise, we'll be continuing this process indefinitely since we could never reach consensus.
The Olauloa Neighborhood Board has no position on this plan, and I think this commission needs to know why. They held a public hearing on this. They violated sunshine. They did not allow the community to testify, everybody that wanted to testify. Complaints were filed with the Neighborhood Commission. The Neighborhood Commission found that the board did not follow sunshine. The Neighborhood Commission and its findings of facts and conclusions of law said that the Neighborhood Board could not take a position on this unless they held another public meeting under sunshine and allowed everybody to testify. The Special Interest Controlled Neighborhood Board at this point has declined to hold such a public meeting. That is why there is no position from the Neighborhood Board, and I think you folks need to know that. That's how this has been handled. It goes with backdoor meetings after the PAC finished 2 years of deliberation, and a majority of those members voted to send that 2009 plan forward. And all of the people that are on the development interests out here sat on that PAC, and because they couldn't get the PAC to support it, they went behind the doors to DPP and they added everything in that the community wouldn't support.
The basis for these changes on the residential uses has to do with currency of information and, of course, the community input. The need for workforce housing is obvious, and it has to be affordable to residents of the areas.
Most of the people that have voiced their opinions are in support because of the need for housing. However, according to developer Chuck Wavin, founder of the Hopi Housing Alliance, and a longtime advocate for affordable housing, he says too often affordable housing is equated with public housing and almost poverty. But the affordable housing crisis affects a broad swathe of the middle class. He notes it would take 3.19 firemen to be able to afford the median priced home on Oahu. It would take 3.63 school teachers or 5.2 hotel front desk clerks. And what we have isn't just an affordable housing problem, we have an income problem. With the majority of our population in Laie working for PCC and or BYU, would it be safe to say that they make as much as a fireman, a school teacher, or a hotel front desk clerk? How many PCC workers would it take to buy a median range affordable house? I worry that this affordable housing hike will find many disappointed when this housing does become available. then who will qualify?
The Malaekahana residential community and expansion of the community growth boundary is needed to support the expansion of Brigham Young University because they're proposing to double the population there from 2,500 to 5,000 students. And the plan is to accommodate this additional staff in this Malaekahana area.
The plan essentially promotes urbanization. It is essentially run by commercial people. It is essentially going to end up not providing all those who have now testified today that they want it because of affordable housing. They want it because they want jobs for their family. What they don't see, if they look at the entire plan and all of what will happen once that plan gets put through, is that affordable housing, there's 300 affordable housing that have never been put into place all these years with a current plan. If they haven't filled that, then what makes you think that the promise on this plan for affordable housing is going to come true before the promise for urbanization, putting in a hotel so that you can so-called get jobs that may be given to people from Utah before they get given to people from Hawaii, where president of BYU right now is firing locals and replacing them with people from Utah.
We received a lot of email comments, mainly in opposition to the proposed, certain segments of the proposed plan relating to Turtle Bay and Envision Laie. There were over 225 emails, and I provided a CD of those emails to you. We received also letters in support from the community, and all of those letters that I have today on this plan is also included in this CD.
It's my kuleana to protect what our ohana has called home for so many years. That our association has voted and unanimously that the community of Ka'ava does not support Turtle Bay expansion nor Envision Laie development projects. Therefore, we as a community cannot support the current draft of the Kola Sustainable Community Plan for one simple reason. It's simply not sustainable. You can only fit six fish in a can of sardines. The two-lane Kamehameha Highway, which spans most of the Windward coast, is absolutely not adequate to support any major increase in population anywhere in the Windward, olauloa, or Olauloa region.
We do not support this plan as written, and we have voted on that, and I'm here today to tell you that there are many, many residents in Ha'ula and the Moku that are against this plan. The plan that was presented by our PAC was totally hijacked and revamped by DPP. We are against Malaekahana development. It's rural agricultural lands being changed over for housing. We are against the business park and industrial park that's planned there. We are against excessive visitor facilities. We are very concerned if these things happen, the impact on our highway that is already overcrowded. Cam Highway is stretched to the max right now, and it seriously needs support and redevelopment itself to be able to continue to service our area. This is a real danger for all of our communities.
As planners or as people on the commission, you need to know that your decisions regarding one moku affects other moku. And we're hoping, I am hoping, that your decision will be based on what is best for the whole island. So that's why I think somebody made a comment earlier that the Oahu general plan should be approved before the sustainable communities plans are changed or approved.
I want to rebut some of the testimony that Mr. Young presented to you. Basically, it is a falsification of the record, basically, because it misstates a number of things. For example, if Mr. Young's department is satisfied that BYU and Zion Securities, not Zion Securities, BYU and HRI, the whole Mormon church operation in Laie, is on the brink of financial disaster, you would think that they would have asked for records, financial records, in order to substantiate the issue. That has never been done. Secondly, he talks about BWS report. The BWS is not the regulator of water in Hawaii. The regulator of water in Hawaii is the State Commission on Water Resource Management. They are not here this afternoon to testify before you. Keep that in mind. There's been a lot of talk about affordable housing as part of the Envision Laie plan. If I tell you that my bunch of bananas is affordable, the first thing you ask me is how much do my bananas cost? There has never been public disclosure as to what these houses in Laie are going to cost. You should insist on that. In addition, the question of traffic. 40 years ago, I heard these same arguments made by Campbell Estate, and what happened eventually was that the city that they built down there wasn't a new city, it wasn't a second city, it became a bedroom community, and eventually we as taxpayers have been saddled with a $5.26 billion bill in order to build rail. If you are not careful and you don't ask the right kinds of questions, we will have the same kind of calamity that arise out of the false arguments that are being made about traffic that is going to be generated if even some of these plans are put into effect. 30 years from now, our children will pay for this plan.
The expansion plan they have in place right now to double the size of the university, of all the places on olauloa where you could actually ask to develop a multi-story building, could have been on the BYUH campus. If they wanted to put up a 5-story building for student dorms, they probably could have gotten away with it. I think most people would have supported that. Instead, they choose to use land that they could have built long-needed affordable housing on. They choose that land to build 2-story married student housing. What that does is it puts square foot per students more, it is greater at BYU Hawaii than it is at BYU in Provo, Utah. So what I'm saying is that the community spent a lot of time and a lot of effort developing the original Sustainable Communities Plan that went to DPP. The product that came out is not the result of the community. It's a result of special interests and individuals and a very small minority of the people in the community. Go back to the original plan and support the entire olauloa community.
I am just a BYU student and Laie resident coming out to testify against the revised version of the olauloa Sustainable Communities Plan. I am in opposition to the plan because I believe it will not successfully maintain olauloa natural resource rural character for me as well as for hundreds of my fellow students at BYU. This preservation of olauloa's beauty and resource is a priority that cannot be compromised.
I caught the bus for over an hour to be here today to voice my opposition to the proposed developments in the moku many of us call home, olauloa. Like many others, I find these development proposals in their current state to be anything but sustainable, and that allowing them in the olauloa Sustainable Communities Plan reflects either a shallow understanding of what sustainability means or values it secondarily to corporate profit.
I'm here today to submit to you some of the over 5,000 petitions calling on this commission, the Department of Planning and Permitting, the City Council, and our mayor to keep the country country. I submit to you now over 2,200 petitions of residents and over 600 petitions from visitors to our island to amend the olauloa Sustainable Communities Plan to cancel the provisions that exempted the Turtle Bay Resort from complying with current laws, conditions, and community objectives. I submit to you now 291 petitions to the City Council to review, amend, or modify the 30-year-old Special Management Area permit for the Turtle Bay expansion. Residents have submitted over 150, and I will submit to you an additional 200 online and written petitions respectfully asking that DPP change the draft of the olauloa Sustainable Communities Plan to reflect the needs of all communities in olauloa. In its current version, it does not. Neither the expansion at Turtle Bay nor the massive development proposed in Malaekahana and Envision Laie meet the sustainability goals of the olauloa Sustainable Communities Plan. Neither the expansion at Turtle Bay nor the massive development proposed in Malaekahana and Envision Laie meet or fall within the guidelines of the Oahu General Plan.
So at this point in time, I felt it's necessary to move the plan out. At this point in time, I felt it's necessary to move the plan